Welcome to the American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants podcast. I am your host, Heidy De La Cruz, and I am on the mission to change the narrative of immigration, one immigrant story at a time. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants podcast. I am your host, Heidy De La Cruz. And today I have Doctora Salinas with us today, and she is going to be talking about her journey coming from Peru and her school journey and also starting her nonprofit. So, welcome, Doctora Salinas. I am so excited to have you here today to share your journey. And yeah, let's just get started with you introducing yourself, who you are, what you do, and then you can get right into life in Peru of what you remember, because I know you came as a child.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Dr. Leslye Salinas, and I wear a lot of different hats, but most recently, I'm the CEO and founder of La Casa de Jenny, which is aiming to be a navigation center for newcomer adults arriving in the Bay Area and navigating the different systems. I'm also a full-time educator, and so I've been in the education field for like 12 years now, and I am also a leadership coach.
Awesome. So many different incredible things that you are doing. And so we had previously talked, and you are from Peru and you came to the US at 7. So just tell us a little bit about like the dynamic back in Peru of what you remember. And then we can get into like the transition to the US.
Yeah, so I came here when I was 7. So I lived the entire time I lived in Peru, I lived in Lima, um,
Mm.
different areas in Lima, but in Lima nonetheless. And my mother migrated when I was 3.
Oh,
So I
wow.
stayed with my grandparents. So a lot of my memories in Peru are with my grandparents,
Mm.
and our extended family. My grandmother has 7 th there's 7 siblings.
Okay.
So they have a lot of family,
Hmm.
and extended family has always kind of been family, like, one unit for us. And then my dad's side of the family, he has 6 siblings.
Okay.
And so I've grown up with a lot of cousins. On the weekends, I would go visit my dad and his family, and so I have very vivid memories of, like, going to
Hmm.
school. I liked school since I was a kid.
Oh,
My dad always says, like, he remembers I was reading a newspaper and somebody goes I was in his office and I was reading the newspaper and somebody goes like, "Is she reading the newspaper?" And then, like but I was, like, really young, I don't remember how old I was, and so I know I've loved school since I was little, and so,
yeah.
a lot of my memories are around school.
Mm.
Going to school, I went to pre-K in Peru, and I went to kindergarten and 1st grade in Peru,
Yeah.
um, and in Peru, schooling is a little different than here, and so pre-K and kindergarten are in their own school, and then 1st grade is, like, elementary school.
Oh, okay.
I only did 1 year of Peruvian elementary school,
Mhm.
um, back home, and so I do have recollections of that. Um, my grandpa was in the military, so we often moved, so moving was kind of normal to
Mm.
um, but all within the same cities and stuff like that, and then so we had a lot of guests over, he had a lot of friends in the military, so we knew a lot of the same people that would move along with us,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I have some fond memories of Peru as a child, but a lot of them around school.
Oh my goodness. And so your mom, you said she had left when you were 3, but your dad was still in Peru?
Yeah, my dad left about 6 months before I moved here,
Oh, okay. And so when you moved to the US, you moved with both of them or just with your mom?
just with my mom. So my mom
Okay.
moved to the Bay Area when she
Oh,
migrated, and then my dad actually moved to Jersey when he migrated.
okay.
And so when I migrated, I came to the Bay Area.
And did your mom know people in the Bay Area? Is that why she chose the Bay Area, or you don't
Um,
know?
one of her my grandfather's cousin lived in the Bay Area, and so that's who she came to move with when she
Okay.
migrated.
Yeah, so tell us about that experience of moving to a whole new country at 7 years old. Like, did you know the language? Did you not? Tell us all the things.
Yeah, so, because my mom was already here when I went to school, I was, like, school aged in Peru, she put me in a private school, so
Oh,
she would pay for me to go to a private bilingual school, and
nice.
I knew basic English, like, enough conversational English, but I was still marked as an ESL, new
Mm,
student, um, and I will say, and, like, even in what I do today, right, I recognize I came with a lot of privilege, right?
okay.
Um, because it's not often you come and, like, your life is already kinda set up for you, right? That is not most immigrant story, right?
Mhm.
So, I came here and my mom already had a job. She knew what school I was gonna go to, right? She had a place to live on her own. She had
Wow.
a car, right? She couldn't drive a car, but that's not a story for now, but she yes, right? And so but she knew how to move around on the bus, right? We weren't
Yeah.
learning together. I was learning, but
Mhm.
I was being taught by my mom how to navigate, the Berkeley area. And so I remember getting to school and people would be like, "Where are you from?" And there's not a lot of
Mm.
Mexicans in the Bay Area. So my Spanish is different.
Mhm,
How
mhm.
I say things are different. My accent
Yeah.
is really different. And I was in a predominantly Mexican space and kids were like, "You're weird." Right, and I
Mhm.
was bullied as a kid for, like, my Spanish or not knowing English, right? And even though, like, I knew enough English, but I just felt so
Mhm.
self-conscious. I because what I felt really confident was my Spanish,
Yeah.
and I was bullied for my Spanish, then I became really self-conscious about my English that
Yeah.
I felt was already very limited, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so my mom had put me at a school where one of her friend's daughters went, which was really helpful because then I felt like I knew someone there.
Mm.
Um, and it was definitely a culture shock because in Peru, you I only know people that speak Spanish just like mine.
Yeah.
Not only is then I'm navigating English as a new
But
language,
a different Spanish.
a different Spanish.
Mhm.
Right? And so that was different. I also think just in general, like, back home, we had such an extended family that, like, now I go back and visit and things like that, and here, it was just me and my mom, and when my grandma would come visit my grandma,
Yeah.
right?
Wow.
And so your network just became really 2 people.
Yeah, you went from, like, so many cousins and aunts and uncles to just, like, you and your mom. Wow.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So she had everything all set up for you, but it was just, navigating all of that. I'm sure was really, really tough. And especially about the Spanish. I'm really glad that you mentioned that because a lot of people have that misconception that like, oh, if you're Mexican or Dominican, Puerto Rican, like, oh, it's all the same, and it's like, no, it's really, really not. Like, there's certain words that are different, and like you said, the accent is different, and things like that. So, oh my goodness. So tell us about so you mentioned your cultural shock and all that. Tell us about so when did you finally I know you said that you mentioned when you moved to the school where you knew that your mom's friend's daughter. Is that when you finally started to feel like more like okay, I can do this. I'm getting more used to it or like when was that stage for you?
I think, like, when I came here, I was finishing up 2nd grade. Because of the way that the calendars work out, so in
Yeah.
the school year is, like, March to December. The
Oh.
school year here is August to June, May,
Mhm.
May.
Mhm.
And so when I came here in December, I actually didn't go to school until about, like, February, just because my mom was like, "Well, you still need a summer break," even though it was, like, not summer, but nonetheless, right? As an educator now, I have a different perspective on it, but, like, as a kid, I was like, "Yeah, I've been in school for a year," right?
Yeah.
Um, so I actually only did, like, a couple months of 2nd grade,
Mm.
um, but it wasn't until about, like, 4th, 5th grade that I felt more confident. I also
Yeah.
had, my mom worked, so, like, I had a babysitter, and
Mm.
she took care of other people's kids too, and so, like, sometimes I would learn through them, right? And I really love to read, and so I really tried to, like, teach myself more English through reading.
Wow, look at you.
because I felt like that was the only way I was going to be able to, like, navigate with my peers as I got
Yeah.
older. Um, I needed to have more language acquisition.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That is incredible for a child to do that. Oh my goodness. I mean, but then now it makes sense, right? Because you've always loved school, you've always, and then now you're an educator. So, my goodness. Let's fast forward to college because you have your PhD, so you've done a lot of schooling. How was the college experience for you? Did you go to a diverse college or not a diverse college? How was all that experience for you?
Yeah, so I went up to a predominantly white college. I went to UC Berkeley for undergrad.
Mm. Okay.
Um, and that was probably, I think, for having been a high achieving academic person, right? Somebody who loved school, who did well in school, going to Berkeley was probably outside of the culture shock of moving from Peru to Berkeley. Um, Going to UC Berkeley was a different culture shock, right? I think
Mm.
there was the piece of my written English not being adequate enough for the UC Berkeley level.
Wow.
Right? So my first semester, I took a 6 unit writing class. And, in college, most classes are 3 to 4 units, and so a 6 unit writing course was actually what drove me to be like, is this the right school for me? Like, am I
Mm.
good enough to be in this college? Right. And it was hard because my first semester in college, I also lived in the dorms. And everyone in my floor was either white or Asian American, and the conversations they would have, I could never relate. So,
Mm.
a lot of their like, they were not most of them were not first generation,
Oh, yeah.
right? And so, like,
Yeah.
their parents were lawyers or doctors or nurses or blah, 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 right? And I was like, "Great, good for you," right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I often felt like I don't have anything to contribute to you people. I can't relate to you people. And so my first semester, as an undergrad was really, really difficult because
Mm.
I didn't have community that looked like me, that I could relate to, that, like, understood where I meant when I was like, my family didn't understand how hard college was because they always
Yeah.
was like, "You're so smart." And I was like, "No, you don't understand. Like, this is hard," right? Like, this
Yeah.
level of hard. And so, experiencing college as a first gen, like, immigrant was really difficult. I think I also had a very unique situation where I was being charged as a, out-of-state resident my first semester because of the way that the way that you check the boxes in FAFSA.
Okay.
Because I didn't live with my parents, I actually lived with my grandparents as in high school, but I also was an award of the court. So,
Okay.
I had to learn to become an independent student, as they call it, so that I wouldn't be charged double, basically, tuition. Just
Wow.
navigating different things based out of, like, who had true custody of me versus, like, legal rights over me. It was really crazy, but I would
Mhm.
say, like, I my 2nd semester, I found some community, I made some really good friends, and that made it a lot easier for the next 4 years. But
Yeah.
first 6, 7 months was those testing waters of, like, am I gonna be able to navigate this place that is, 1, not made for me, 2, does not even see me for me, like, it's making me jump through all these hoops,
Yeah.
bureaucratically, and then 3, like, where I was often tested to, like, am I smart enough for this institution?
Oh my goodness, and what kept you going? I mean, you did your undergrad, you kept going, so what was that? What was that drive for you?
When I started my undergrad career, I really wanted to be an immigration lawyer.
Okay.
I committed to, like, my family, to my community, that I really wanted to go into immigration to, like, shift the landscape. I grew up in a mixed status household, and so for me, that was really personally important.
Yeah.
And so once I got into my legal studies coursework, I was like, "Oh, yeah, this is not for me." Like, I'm gonna be
Mm.
fighting people, I'm gonna be fighting with ignorant people, like, this is just not where I wanna exert my energy, right?
Yeah.
Not how I get down. And so then I shifted my focus to do sociology and education.
Okay.
And right after undergrad, I went into working in school operations and I loved it. And then I wanted to learn more about like leadership and like how schools run and like, what makes a really good education system and an educational institution. And that's when I went to my master's. I got my master's from the School of Education at the University of San Francisco. And there I started kind of digging into like research, right? I have a master's thesis that's all about um, the impact of qualifying a student for English language learner from
Mm,
the paperwork level, but what actually looks like that for a kid in their day to day life,
wow.
impacts of those things. Um, and then like I said, I left school. So then I went back a couple years later and I did my EDD in organizational change and leadership. And that's when I researched around like what supports newcomer middle and high schoolers needed
Yeah.
really feel successful.
When while doing your master's, were you teaching while going to school for your master's?
No, I actually was a school operations leader around
Oh.
enrollment. And so I had a lot of immigrant families that would ask me about filling out the form around
Mm,
what language their kids spoke. And some people wanted to just lie about my kid just knows English because they had I'd heard or like had heard myths, right? Or stories about like if you say this is what happens to your kid. So I was like, I really want to know what actually happens, but also what is the thing that people are hearing that makes them want to do this, right?
interesting, yeah. Because I'm thinking about my experience, like, I've put, my daughter knows Spanish, so, like, now I get everything in Spanish, like, I get all the notifications and everything is, and I'm like, "But we know English too."
Exactly, right? So I was doing school stuff, but I was not a teacher.
Okay, gotcha. And so, okay, so then tell us about your organization. So you were doing the research and seeing like what was needed. Also, tell us about that, about then how that transitioned into your organization.
Yeah, so I did my study on what do newcomer high schoolers and middle school students need to really be successful, right?
Mm,
In completing a high school diploma and being able to be like community college ready. And one of the things that really stuck to me was when I interviewed newcomer teachers, they shared how oftentimes like we could do all of the things in the classroom, but what happens is kids are coming with so much other stressors that they cannot address. And
mm,
so a teacher put it in this like figurative way for me. He's like, it's kind of like we give them a sliver of a pizza, but they need the entire pie.
wow.
Right? And that really stuck with me. That really stuck with me as a 7-year-old that, like, needed to learn not only how to navigate English, but navigate different kinds of Spanish. For the 7-year-old in me that had to navigate, like, what does it look like in this classroom? Or, like I said, my mother had a car that was, um, a stick shift, so she didn't know how to drive it. So we
Mm,
had to take the bus. Right, and so when I wanted to go to new places, we had to navigate how to take the bus to the new place
yeah.
my friends had told me about it, etcetera. And so I realized in that moment that families needed something way bigger than we could that the school system could provide them, right? Oakland is known for their newcomer program. They have a robust, system of support embedded in there around wellness and mental health and case
Wow.
management. And there are so many other stressors families still have, right? And it also brought me back to when my grandfather moved here to take care of me after my mom passed away. I witnessed with my own eyes him having an identity crisis. He was a very high up military man in Peru come
Mhm.
to this country to be a dishwasher,
Yeah, to do not like, be like nothing pretty much. Wow,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And I he would be at home and he's like, demanding people to do XYZ right now. And like, I'm sure that's how he was at his job from the
Mhm.
stories I hear. And so I'm like, "But you're not" like, bring it down a notch, right? But also, as I reflect as I got older, I was like, "Oh, it wasn't that that's just who he was trying to be mean or that, whatever."
Yeah.
It was that he was going through his own identity crisis of not feeling himself, right? So then we have adults that migrate that their identity is often their jobs or their
Mhm.
careers, right? We started this podcast with what I do, right? And
Yeah.
like who I am, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
If you place me somewhere else without any of those things, I'd be like, yeah, my name is Dr. Leslye, right? Like that's the only thing I could keep out of that introduction,
Mhm.
right? So these adults are coming to an unknown country. They're having to rediscover themselves,
Yes.
right? Get jobs.
That
And
has nothing to do with what they studied back home.
that has
Nothing.
nothing to do with what they study back home and then provide for their family and their children,
Yeah.
right? And so in that moment, I realized we needed a place and a space for families who are newcomers, especially the newcomer adults that come with their children, to have a place to help them navigate the different systems, whether it's the transportation system, whether it's the banking system. And
Oof.
in particularly, what we really are aiming to do is to create career and professional development, right?
Wow.
So looking at the pathways that already exist in different career fields that are not easy to find and walking people through those processes to be able to practice their like whatever it is in their field here, right? So we've started the research with teachers, with nurses and accountants,
Wow.
and so we're currently in our development phase around, having enough funds to roll this out to help the nurses, teachers, and accountants from their home country to get the California certification that they need
Mhm.
to be able to practice in that field, right?
Yeah.
Um, that takes time, that takes resources, and
Mhm.
for folks, they come here in the search of their own, American dream and their own future, and they need income, they need to produce income as soon as they get here,
Yes.
and so in the immediacy, as we build out this longer term project that we're aiming to do and provide for our community, we do these things called job search clinics. And this started as an idea last year. This is our first year, actually, and next week will be our first year of service to the community. And we do drop in. So you come in, you fill out a form, you kind of tell us your skills and traits, and then we help you build a Indeed profile. We help you apply for jobs, and then through that, we also create a resume for you, and then we take data around like what other things do people need? Like,
Yeah.
who else can we connect you to? We are blessed to be in the Bay Area where there are a lot of other amazing nonprofits and community based organizations doing other work. And we are not trying to replicate that work. We are trying to send people to the right place to get the right thing.
Yes.
But we know that all of those places often get people who need jobs and to create income. And so we have become that place.
Oh my goodness, what incredible work you're doing and how it's like all tied also to like your own experience, your family's experience. And it's just like, yes, I can't tell you how many I work in the medical field and I can't tell you how many people I've met that are doctors, nurses, and are here in this country working as a medical assistant.
Mhm.
Just because of the barriers that it does take to get the licensing and the schooling and and paying the fees to be able to do the profession that they studied back home. And I recently went to this orientation for businesses. There's this nonprofit here in Central Florida that helps Hispanic businesses. And so you have to do this orientation. And so she had us all introduce ourselves if we had an idea for a business or if we like, already had a business. And there was also, it was just interesting to listen to like what they would say that they were, back home versus like what they want their business to start here. And there was two civil engineers who were starting businesses completely different than the civil engineering, that they did back home. And it was just so amazing to me because immigrants, they're adaptable. Like they have to be able to do what they need to do to be able to provide for the family. Like, like you said, your grandfather became a dishwasher because he needed to provide, although he struggled with it, but that's just what you have to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think sometimes when especially you have kids in your household and you're stressed out and you're going through the grief and the emotions of it,
Oh, yeah.
your kids are absorbing that.
Yes.
And then as
100%.
educators, we receive them dysregulated from all of that.
Ah, yes, from all the stress. Oh my goodness, yes. So, La Casa de Jenny is your nonprofit organization. How can someone support you right now with your nonprofit?
Yes, so we are on Instagram. We also have our website, lacasadejenny.org. There's a way to support if you're in the Bay Area. You can always volunteer with us. There's a volunteer link on our website. There's also a donate button on our website. And right now we do 2 community events a year. So in July, we do a backpacks giveaway, and then in December, we do a coat drive and also a toy drive. And so we really wanna make sure that these times, especially ramping up for school to start, um, kids feeling ready, feeling excited, right? And then we also know, like, school supplies can be expensive, right? And backpacks and all the things. And so we wanna eliminate some of the stressors for our clients. And then
Mhm.
in the holiday season, depending on when you arrived or what your story is, right? Holidays can be very expensive.
Oh,
And
yeah.
again, we wanna really have, create joy for our clients amidst of whatever their journey has been.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful. I will include the links in the show notes and show description so people can go ahead and support. And to wrap up this beautiful conversation, I love again all the work that you're doing. I love your transparency and honesty about your journey and a little bit about your mom and your grandparents' journey as well. What does the American dream mean to you?
I think for me, the American dream has meant the giving me the opportunity to dream in a way that I can uplift what my family came here for, right?
Mm,
So my mother came here by herself, right? And her entire mission was for me to have a better future. And
mm,
for me, that has meant being able to do things that my family would have never imagined or had access to, right? And most recently with La Casa de Jenny, it has also meant being able to contribute to be a part of somebody else's American dream journey.
mm. Yeah, because before when we had our pre-show meeting, you mentioned that La Casa de Jenny, like, that's your mom's name, and
Yes.
I like, that really touched me because I was like, "Oh my god, that is so sweet." So, well, thank you, Doctora Salinas, so much for your time today, for the work that you're doing, and again, I will include all the show notes or the links to your show notes and show description so people can go ahead and support, and yeah, just thank you so much for filling in that gap. You saw the need and you went and filled in the gap, and I know it's not easy work because there is so much more that people are navigating when they come to this country that other people may not understand or get. But yeah, just thank you for being that light in the community and the work that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you for listening to Mommy Podcast.